Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and today I wanted to talk to you about L&M Fine Jewelry. The L stands for Landy, the M stands for Michael, and the An stands for their son, Carson, or as he jokingly says, it stands for Carson. It's a family-owned jewelry company. It's your diamond destination. I know it's my destination. I went there to get my fiance's engagement ring. They took great care of me. Their customer service is amazing. They're very attentive to what you need and what you're looking for, and they know exactly how to get you that. And also, their communication is top notch. They take great pride in taking good care of their customers. They took great care of me and my fiance every time we went in there. Great smiles on all their faces. They do a great job. If you're in the Missoula area, or even if you're in the state of Montana, you have to drive over to Missoula, come to L&M Fine Jewelry, get that ring for that special person. It's your diamond destination. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. Today, we have got some great topics to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the Montana State number 41 versus Griz number 37 number controversy. A lot of people online have been talking about that, so I wanted to dive into it myself and discuss it. We're going to be talking about the SEC potentially leaving the college football playoff a couple of years ago, maybe this year, a couple of years ago. We'll read some quotes from that. We're going to talk about the G5 potentially trying to form its own Super League. I know people talk about the FBS Super League, like the Power 5 Super League potentially happening. They say, will it happen? Will it not happen? The G5s now are talking about they potentially want to form their own league. Will it happen? Will it not happen? I think it's an interesting topic to discuss. We will talk about that. We'll talk about the 16-team seeded playoff coming to the FCS. It used to be 8 seeded teams. Now there's going to be 16 going forward. I think that's very good for the FCS. Little topic to talk about. Reggie Bush got his Heisman back. Great for him. Great for college football. Great for USC fans. Everybody loves to see that. Everybody loves Barry. Schools will now be more involved in NIL. We will talk about that. We'll talk about the NFL draft and the FCS players that were drafted in the NFL draft. Interesting topic there. We will talk about that. And then we got some fan questions this week, so we'll attack the fan questions as well. Make sure you guys hit the like. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Make sure you guys leave me a comment for what you guys think about this content. I appreciate you guys tapping in. I appreciate you guys continuing to show love. Make sure you subscribe, and we will get straight into the video. Okay, first things first. Is MSU's number 41 just copying Montana's number 37, or did theirs start first? So this is a very interesting topic. If you guys know about Andrew Schmidt, I think his name is the Schmidtinator, something like A Schmidtinator on Twitter. He went on a rant last week. He usually does go on some rants, but he went on a rant last week about Montana State copying Montana with the number 37. I think I may ruffle some grizzly feathers here today. Now, you guys know I'm not one to pull punches when it comes to Montana State, when it comes to Bozeman, when it comes to the guys on the other side of the state. I don't care I don't care about pulling punches. I don't care about throwing shots at them. I don't care about throwing subliminals at them. I don't care. I don't care about the Cats. I don't. They have great players. They got a lot of talent. I'm a really big fan of Tommy Malott, really big fan of a lot of things, a lot of players that they got over there. Yeah, I can be a fan of the players and still not like the Bobcats. That is what it is. So, like, understand where I'm coming from on this. Like, I don't want to be on this side of things, but based on the research that I did, these are the conclusions that I came to. Now, you guys can feel how you want to feel. You guys know how I feel about the Bobcats, so hopefully I don't get any Grizzly fans trying to come up my neck for what I'm gonna say. But I gotta tell the truth. And from what I gathered, it seems that number 41 at Bozeman has been a thing dating back to the 20s, the 1920s. Now, it hasn't been an official tradition until Jeff Choate made it a tradition in 2019. Now, the Grizz's number 37 has been an official tradition since 1986. So from that standpoint, you can say the Bobcats are copying the Griz. But from what I understand, Montana State has been wearing this number for years and years and years. And I don't think it's been an every year thing that, you know, it's been passed down to a player, or I don't know if it's even been something that's been passed down from player to player like the Griz do it. But from my understanding, it has been a thing. It has been an established tradition. Not an established tradition, but it's been an established thing that's been understood in Bobcat Nation. Now, I'm going to read you some information that I got. The number 41 comes from Montana being the 41st state in the admitted to the union. I think everybody understands that. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. It started officially in 2019, but had been a thing. I said tradition in here, but I don't even want to call it tradition because it really hadn't been a tradition, but it had been a thing dating back to 1926. It had been worn since 2009 or since 2010 to 2019 for 9 straight years until Jeff Choate made an official tradition. I said official thing there. I should have switched those around. I should have said thing the first time. I should have said tradition the next one. Either way, you get what I'm saying. Jeff Choate made it an official tradition in 2019 with Braden Conklin wearing the number safety. He had been moved around from safety to linebacker, back to safety. He finished his career at safety, I believe. They have a block M on the team's helmet, a tribute to the M on Mount Baldy. Some could say they copied the Griz with that because we have an M. I don't know when Mount Sentinel was there first. The M on Mount Sentinel was there first. I don't know if the M on Mount Baldy was there first. A lot of you Griz historians, you Griz fans that have been Griz fans for not 90 years, but like 30, 40, 50 plus years, let me know in the comments what was there first, the M on Mount Baldy or the M on Mount Sentinel. Going forward from this season, a player hailing, these are Jeff Choate's words, going forward from this season, a player hailing from Montana will wear jersey number 41. Although that has been the case at Montana State for much of the program's history. That is their words. A player from Montana has wore number 41 for much of the school's history. They just made it an official tradition in 2019. The first season on record for which the Cats assigned jersey numbers, 1926, saw Pop Gregory from Lewiston wear number 41. Since then, stars such as Sam McCullum, 1971 to 1973, Kalispell, Ron Murray, 1975 to 1978, Miles City, Brad Daly, 2009, 2011 to 2013, Helena, like it's 2009, 2011, 2013, so I don't know if he left the team or something. I don't know what happened. And then Grant Collins from 2014 to 2018 from Bozeman have all donned that number. That's the history on. I didn't put all the statistics about their history, but that's some of the brief history about the number 41. They had a list of, like, it was a long laundry list of players who have worn the number, and it wasn't sequential. Like, it wasn't every year that a player was wearing it. It wasn't every year of, like, somebody didn't wear it every year. So I don't know what the history behind that was. From that standpoint, you can say, because every year since 1983, the Griz have had somebody wearing the number 37. I mean, either way, Grizzly football jersey number 37 began its legacy in 1983. Griz fullback and Plentywood native Greg Paulson began the tradition of passing number 37 on to a younger player who hailed from the state of Montana. Number 37 has come to represent the spirit of Montana, which is what Bozeman says about their number 41, which I find pretty interesting. I mean, like, if you're going to copy the trend, that's why I do agree with Schmidt on that point. It's like, if you are going to make your number tradition, don't make it the same as Montana. Like, don't make it the exact same as number 37. Like, oh, this player exemplifies Montana. And I will agree, Montana people are very proud people, love tradition. They love the tradition of Montana, toughness, grittiness, like hard work. That is a Montana player. But like, I don't know, man. Like, if you're gonna make a legacy number, like, at least make it mean a little something differently. I mean, I don't know. It's hard because we're both in-state rivals, so we're both from the state of Montana. I mean, there's Montana players on both teams, so there is somebody who can resemble the spirit of Montana on both teams. But like, if that's what number 37 is, don't make. I mean, I don't know. The number 37 has come to represent the spirit of Montana, hard work, dedication to the team, and tough play on the gridiron, which is kind of similar to what the number 41 is at Bozeman. Now, from the standpoint of theirs becoming an official tradition in 2019 and the Grizzlies being an official tradition since 1983, you have that there. But a senior Montana player, a Montana guy, has worn number 41 at Montana State for decades, almost a century. It's almost been 100 years since somebody as Montana State has, I mean, it hasn't been an every year thing, but theirs has been established since 1926. So that's the reason I said I might ruffle some feathers, because it seems like this has been a thing at Montana State since 1926. Now, if you want to talk about the officialness of the tradition, the officialness of the legacy of it, you can say, yes, they are biting the swag of Montana. They are biting the style, because theirs has only been since 2019 and ours has been since 1983. Now, if you even want to say that Montana State, since they did it 9 years in a row from 2010 to 2019, and that's what sparked Jeff Choate to make it a tradition, still, Montana's was established longer than Bozeman's. I don't know where I really stand on this. I just wanted to give you guys the history. I think it's interesting that they made it an official tradition and the player wears the number. It kind of dilutes it, the fact that like this year I saw Brent Vegan say that all of the Montana seniors are going to wear a sticker on their helmet, but only one is going to wear the number. I mean, I think that kind of defeats the purpose. Even though they're not wearing the number, obviously everybody can't wear the same number. It's like it kind of defeats the purpose when you like let everybody have that sticker, even have the sticker. Like, no, bro. Only, I mean, I don't know. They do whatever they want at Bozeman. Y'all can do whatever y'all want at Bozeman. I don't really care. But those are the facts. Montana since 1983, Bozeman since 2019, but people have been wearing it since 1926. You guys can gather what you want from that. If you guys have more history, more information on the topic, please leave them in the comments. Please let me know. DM me on social media. I would love to hear them. That is the facts. That is what I think. I still think Bozeman is a little bite in the style with what they say about the traditional number and like what they say about it, but it seems that it's been a thing since the 1920s. So, Griz fans, don't kill me over that. Bozeman, kick rocks. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments, and we're going to move on. The SEC Big 10 would have left the college football playoff in new contract if new contract wasn't reached, says Sankey and Petiti. I believe Sankey is the Big 10 or the SEC commissioner. I believe Petiti is the, did I say Big 10? I believe Sankey is the SEC commissioner. I believe Petiti is the Big 10 commissioner. Yeah, prior to reaching an agreement on an expanded college football playoff last month, the NCAA was reportedly facing danger of losing the SEC and Big 10 from the postseason. Absolutely, Sankey responded when asked if the SEC would have left the college football playoff. When we ended that set of meetings in January 2022 without a decision, I was clear. If you are going to walk away from this opportunity, we are going to reevaluate our position on format, revenue sharing, and governance. Under the new revenue model, the SEC and Big 10 are making a combined 58% of all college football playoff cash. Dellinger noted the deal was necessary to keep both conferences in the fold. The recent era of conference realignment eventually led to the SEC and Big 10 becoming modern super leagues, so their demands eventually had to be met. This is basically the SEC and Big 10 saying, we bring in all the money, we win all the championships, we have the best teams in our conferences that make up the college football playoff, pay us the most money. These conferences are making almost 60% of the cash that is being paid out from the college football playoff revenue, guaranteed cash, I think. And I mean, that's just honestly crazy. And this is going to lead into my next point about the G5s, but like the SEC and Big 10 have all the bargaining chips. When I start talking about the G5s are going to talk about separating. And, you know, I don't know if they have bargaining power. I don't really know if they have leg to stand on. But the SEC in this standpoint, they threatened to leave, and the college football playoff said, okay, we'll give you what you want. I mean, that's how the world works. These guys win the championships. You look at the last 3 years, you got 2 back-to-back from Georgia. You had 1 in 2020 from, who was it? You had 2021, which was Georgia, 2022, which was Georgia, 2023 technically was, who just won it last year? Michigan. You had 2020, which was Alabama. You had 2019, which was, LSU. So it's like SEC Big 10 have been winning it. The ACC won it, I think, in 2018 with Clemson, and then they won it in 2017 or 2016. I think it was 2016 with Clemson, and then that next year, Alabama won it in 2017. I mean, it's been really the SEC and the Big 10 who have been winning them in the college football playoff era. There's been 2 ACC winners. There hasn't been a Pac-12 winner. There hasn't been a Big 12 winner. The Pac-12 is no more, but you look at the SEC, you look at the Big 10, you look at the ACC, I mean, they win all the championships, so they have all the bargaining power, which means they're going to get the most revenue. I mean, it makes sense why they almost left until the new contract was reached. It makes sense why the college football playoff said, we will give you what you want. We don't care what it looks like. We have to make these people happy, which leads me into my next point. A group of 5 playoff or G5 reorganization is being talked about among admins. Derek Dooley is pitching them on private equity. The SEC Big 10 strong-arming the college football playoff was a tipping point. That was what Chris Vanini said. Multiple administrators from within the G5 conferences, the American, the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, the MAC, and the Conference USA, told The Athletic that former college and NFL coach Derek Dooley has been the salesman on behalf of private equity firms, making contact with schools. This is very interesting. The G5 is trying to make some moves. I don't know if they have much ground to stand on, but they're trying to make some moves. The administrators who were granted anonymity to discuss sensitive matters, made clear that nothing is imminent and they haven't been presented with any numbers yet, but conversations are more real than they've ever been. The G5 is trying to get out from under the Power Fives, the Power Fours now. They are trying to make some moves. They're trying to make stuff shake, and it's very interesting. The initial idea circulated among administrators earlier this year, but once the Big 10 and SEC threw around their weight to reshape the new college football playoff contract and grant themselves far more guaranteed revenue and almost all of the control, that served as the tipping point for many administrators to chart their future sooner rather than later. So the G5s are seeing what is happening in college football. Yes, we were guaranteed a spot in the college football playoff, one spot. Yes, we're getting, a decent amount of, not even a decent amount of money. Yes, we're getting some revenue, guaranteed revenue from these, from the college football playoff. But really, the Big 10 and the SEC have all the power. But I would say, and just like I was saying in my last point, the SEC and Big 10 win all the championships. So it's like, until you want to do something about it on the G5 standpoint, you got to win. You got to win. You got to win. And it can't just be one win. You can't just make it to the national championship. You got to win a national championship. We got to see a G5 team win a national championship. But I think from the G5 standpoint, it's like, you're giving the SEC and the Big 10 all the money, which they deserve because they win. So it's like, it's hard to bargain from the G5. You got to win with what it's not fair. It's tough. It's tough. But like in the G5 standpoint, you got to win with what you have right now to prove that you deserve more. Win with what you have now, and then you have more to bargain with when you go to the table. Right now, you have nothing, absolutely nothing to bargain with when you go to the table right now. But if you win with what you have, you can go to the table and tell them, no, this isn't right. We deserve more, and you'll have more to bargain with. Details. Here we go. While the new college football playoff will bring in hundreds of millions more in revenue, the payouts to the group of fives will be relatively unchanged. Details of plans are under discussion vary. Some administrators like a smaller scale idea of creating their own postseason to replace bowl games. I kind of like that idea, but also like, what would that look like? Discuss administrators. Where am I at? Replace bowl games. Others believe the entire group of five, especially the American, Conference USA, and Sun Belt, should reorganize geographically under one banner with multiple divisions and share all revenue equally like a pro sports league. That is interesting. I don't know. Share all revenue like a pro sports league. I think if they did that idea, they would need to add some FCS conference schools. I think they would definitely need to add some FCS schools if they did the second option of reorganizing under one banner. But also, there's going to be, I had a fan question. He's asking, what would that do to the FCS? Like, we'll talk about that in a minute. But the G5s, my point is, you got to win, and you have stuff to bargain with when you go to the table. Without any wins, without any, you have no ground to stand on unless you win. Winning heals all. Winning heals all. Winning cures all. You got to win. You got to win. The wins will cure up all of this. The idea of G5 reorganization or the creation of a G5 football-only Super League consisting of the top handful of programs was informally discussed among some administrators when the current wave of conference realignment kicked off in 2021. Its ties with Power 4 conferences are a part of the value, especially now that at least one G5 team is guaranteed a spot in the 12-team playoff. And that is the biggest point. You may think that you can go off and form your own league, and you may think that you can argue for your own contracts and whatever it may be, but all your bargaining power sits with the Power Fives. Like, they give you more bargaining power. And that one spot in the college football playoff gives you more bargaining power. If you win, you have more bargaining power to argue for more revenue, argue for more of a share of the funds. But right now, you haven't really been winning. Right now, you haven't really been competitive. So why should we give you anything? Now, one might say the reason we aren't able to be competitive is because we aren't getting any revenue from any of these TV deals, any of these college football playoff deals. Like, we don't get any money. So how are we supposed to compete facilities-wise? How are we supposed to compete recruitment-wise? How are we supposed to compete NIL-wise? Like, it makes sense. Like, it's a money league at this point. More money. You're going to have more resources. You're going to get the better players. Like, all of that. I get that. But you got to win with what you got right now so that you'll have ground to stand on. It sucks that it has to be that way, but it is that way. Because if you separate from the Power 4, you may not get the money that you're getting right now from the college football playoff deal might be the best that you're going to get without the Power. Might not even be as good as you're going to do without the Power 4s. Without the Power 4s helping you out, you might not get as much as you think you will. Like, you might not have as good as deals, as good money, as good recruits. Like, it might not, the grass isn't always greener. It's the same as we talk about with the NIL. If you separate from these power fours, from these power fives, the grass might not be as green as you think it is out there. That is something to think about for these FCS, for these G5 schools. That is definitely something to think about. Now, you guys can let me know what you think about it in the comments. Those are my 2 cents. I think the G5s have to win first with what they have, and give yourself something to bargain with. Give yourself something to argue for. Like, give yourself something to stand on. Right now, you don't really have any ground to stand on, so you kind of look crazy talking about realigning when, you know, you haven't been very competitive. So that is what it is. You know, who all knows, this might work out for them. Maybe it is the way to go. I don't know. I don't think it's the way to go for them right now, but it might be. Who knows? You guys let me know in the comments, and I will move on. News. This is from Sam Herder. He does really great work with the FCS. Sam Herder on FCS on Twitter, X, SAMHERDER, Sam Herder, or you can go to Hero Sports on Twitter, X. They do really good work. They cover the FCS greatly. This topic is from him. I mean, this is really a topic at the FCS level, but I'm pulling this from something he posted, and the quotes that I'm going to be reading off are something he posted, so make sure you check him out. Seeding the top 16 teams in the 2014 FCS playoff bracket has been fully approved beginning this fall. More seeds results in less regionalization, more balanced early round matchups, and more transparency on who hosts in first rounds. Seeds 1 through 8 get a first round bye. This is something we briefly discussed a couple of weeks ago, and now it's become law at the FCS. I think this is really good for FCS. For seeds 1 through 8 get first round bye. Really good. Seeds 9 through 16 host first round games. Seeds 9 through 16 host a team from a pool of the 8 remaining unseeded teams based on regionalization, but avoiding regular season matchups, which is really big because, like, you don't want to be playing a team that you played in the like last year. Furman had to play, but I think they played them in the second round. But Furman had to play Chattanooga. I think it was Chattanooga. Yeah, it was Chattanooga. They had to play UT Chattanooga in the second round of the FCS playoffs. They had originally beat them in the regular season, and they played them in the FCS playoffs. They beat them in the FCS playoffs, but you know, you don't want to have to see some of those conference teams twice in the playoffs unless it's like deep in the playoffs, like in the championship or the semifinals, maybe in the quarterfinals. But like, you don't want to have to see them in those first couple of rounds. The number 1 seed plays the winner of the number 16 versus unseeded matchup. The number 2 seed plays the winner of the number 15 versus unseeded matchup. The number 8 seed plays the winner of the number 9 versus unseeded matchup, and so on. There may still be minimum bids to host games, so that's what I don't get. Because you say the 9 through 16 host a first round game, so why would there still be minimum bids to host games, which is normal for NCAA tournament games held on home sites? If you're saying the 9 through 16 host first round games and they're going to be playing against the remaining 8 unseeded teams, then how would I don't get how would then minimum bids still be posted to see who hosts a first round game, to host games. Like, I don't get that, because at that point, after the first round, it becomes a seed thing. Like, everybody's playing based off where they were seeded. Like, it doesn't matter. So I don't get, if you got 9 through 16 playing the remaining 8 unseeded teams based on regionalization, but we're avoiding regular season matchups. I don't get how, you know, money becomes a thing. Like, I don't get that part of it. Now, maybe that means like I don't know. Somebody would have to explain that to me in the comments. I'd love to talk to Sam about that, but I don't get that. And there will still likely be some of regionalization where seeds 9 through 16 are paired with unseeded teams for first round games based on proximity. So I do get that. Like, even though you're a 9 through 16 seed, you'll probably be playing one of those 8 unseeded teams that are mostly close to you in proximity in terms of distance. I get that. But like, in terms of the 9 through 16 hosting one of the remaining pool of 8 unseeded teams based on regionalization, like, why would a minimum bid play a part? Like, I would think this would take minimum bids out of the equation. Like, I would think minimum bids would not matter anymore, because if you're not one of the 9 through 16 seeded teams, you're not going to host it. Like, it seems self-explanatory to me, but maybe I'm not understanding. Somebody probably can explain it in the comments to me, but I think this is really good for FCS football. You would have probably seen a Delaware. You would have probably seen a North Dakota State. You would have probably seen a North Dakota. You would have probably seen some more teams be seeded. Like North Dakota State would have definitely been a seed. North Dakota probably would have definitely been a seed. Maybe even a Sac State. Like, you probably would have seen some more Big Sky, CAA, or Missouri Valley teams be seeded had this been a thing last year. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments, and we will move on. Okay. Reggie Bush receives his Heisman Trophy back after forfeiting it in 2010. I think this is really good for Reggie Bush. I think this is really awesome. Really excited for him. This doesn't change what's happening with him suing the NCAA, but this does have to do with the Heisman Trust, and I think him being at the Heisman ceremony. The NCAA and the Heisman Trust are two different entities. They don't work together. I mean, they kind of work together, I guess, with the ceremony, but like in terms of like litigation and stuff like that. Like if Reggie Bush is suing the NCAA, that doesn't mean he's suing the Heisman Trust. Those are two different entities. 14 years after forfeiting his Heisman Trophy in the wake of an improper benefits investigation, former USC running back Reggie Bush got his hardware back. In the statement, the NCAA said pay-for-play type arrangements were still banned. I think this is previously, before he had even got the trophy back, the NCAA said this. But pay-for-play type arrangements were still banned, and that previous penalties, including those that are several years old, will not be reevaluated or reconsidered. So that was the NCAA. That has nothing to do with the Heisman Trust. Those are two different entities, like I said at the beginning. A groundswell of support built behind Bush in recent years with fellow Heisman Trophy winners Johnny Manziel, Matt Leinart, and Tim Brown speaking out publicly regarding their belief that Bush should be reinstated, per Pete Thamel. The Heisman Trust ultimately had a change of heart from its previous stance, noting that compensation of student athletes is an accepted practice and appears here to stay, thus opening the door for the trust to look past any benefits Bush may have received during his collegiate career. With the Heisman Trust decision, Bush will not only get his Heisman Trophy back, but he will also be invited to all Heisman-related functions moving forward, which will allow for him to be properly recognized for his accomplishments, which is amazing. I think that is great for Reggie Bush. I mean, anybody who follows USC, anybody who follows Reggie Bush, I mean, they know he's been trying to get his Heisman back for a really long time. I am really happy for him that he's going to be getting his Heisman back. But I don't think this changes the litigation that he's under, that he's fighting with the NCAA. Like, I think the NCAA stance was, and still is, that those rules were in place at that time. He broke the rules at that time, what the rules were. He got improper benefits for getting a car, getting a house, whatever it was that he got, whatever the benefits were that he got, those were improper at the time. That's not going to change what we did, what we said at that time. What I think his point is like, and what I've always said is like, NIL, money being paid to a student, getting a car, getting a house for your family, that doesn't affect your play on the field. You still have to perform on the field. And that's the biggest thing about Reggie getting his Heisman taken, is like, or him giving it back and him not being part of the Heisman Trust anymore. The biggest thing about that was that, like, him getting those benefits never helped him win the Heisman in the first place. Him getting those benefits never improved or hurt his performance on the field. He still had to go out and perform every Saturday. He still had to do what he did on a daily basis. Like, he still had to be a dog on the football field. The benefits don't help that. The money doesn't help that. And that's the biggest thing about these kids getting this NIL money, is like, if you don't perform on the field, none of that's going to be there anyway. So it's like, keep the main thing, and that's what they mean when they say keep the main thing the main thing. Keep the play on the field the main priority. That is what's going to get you paid. That is what's going to get you to the NFL. That's what's going to get you these awards. And that's what got Reggie his Heisman, was his play on the field, not the improper benefits. That didn't get him the Heisman. Like, that didn't get him the Heisman in the first place. So for you guys to take it away for those improper benefits didn't make any sense in the first place. Like, what are we talking about? Either way, I'm glad he got the Heisman back. I think a lot of people in the comments will probably be happy that he got the Heisman back. I don't know if like I said, I don't know if his lawsuit with the NCAA is going to go anywhere. Like, I don't know if he's going to win. I think his biggest point was, and I kind of said it in the statement here, pay for play type arrangements were still banned. But I don't think he was under any pay for play type arrangement. He did get improper benefits, but I don't think that's a pay-for-play type arrangement. And I think that's his biggest point, is they're basically trying to say he cheated, but he really didn't even cheat. Like, he didn't cheat in any way to get the Heisman, and that's the biggest thing. He didn't cheat to get the Heisman. He earned the Heisman through blood, sweat, and tears, through hard work, through execution, through everything. Like, he had to get that Heisman off the strength. Like, he got that Heisman off the strength of the work that he put in, off the things that he did on the field. I don't think that has anything to do with like the improper benefits. Now, the NCAA is not going to just roll over and let it and say, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, no, at the time, the improper benefits that he did receive were against NCAA rules. Whether people believe that they were fair rules at the time or not is for another day, a discussion for another day. At the time, he did break the rules, and I think that's the stance that the NCAA is taking, and that's what he's arguing. What do you guys think about this? Are you guys happy that he's got his Heisman back? Do you guys think he shouldn't have got it back? If you're on that side of things, let me know in the comments. I think nobody will really be on that side of things, but if you are, speak your mind. You have the open floor to speak your mind. We are going to move on, though. Schools will now be more involved in name, image, and likeness opportunities for college athletes following Monday's decision by the Decision I Board of Directors. So if you guys know, I record my videos on Sunday now, and I remember I spoke about Virginia making a ruling to where they're going to give their schools the ability to pay student athletes NIL. After reading a little bit about this, I think the Virginia ruling is actually a little different than what the Division I Board of Directors has ruled. I think they're a little different. But so I asked the question at the end of this, is this in response to the Virginia court ruling? I don't really think it is. I think these are two separate things. I think they're kind of similar in some ways where the schools now can be involved in some sense with the NIL. But I think the Virginia ruling gives the schools the ability to pay their players. This Division I board of directors gives the schools the ability to work with third-party collectives and things of that nature for NIL. So let me break it down for you. The NCAA announced that the board chose to accept and affirm previous actions from the Division I Council that permits schools to facilitate NIL deals for athletes with third parties. So I think previously these schools technically weren't supposed to have any hand in the NIL, any hand in the like the good old Grizzlies of the world or the collectives of the world. Like, I don't think the schools were allowed to really be involved in that stuff. I think now with this ruling from the Division I Board of Directors, it allows the schools to work with these third-party NIL collectives. This might actually, the schools are now able to work in the best interest of their athletes instead of having athletes get agents or get, NIL agents, marketing agents, whatever it is. I think this allows the schools now to act as a player's agent, if you will. They're able to act in the best interest of their student athletes, which is what everybody wants, which is what the NCAA ultimately wants. I don't know if they go about the best way of doing that, but it seems like the NCAA ultimately wants to protect these kids from what they know is a nasty business when money gets involved. So they're allowing the schools to step in and work in the best interest of their students, I think, with allowing them to work with these third parties, with allowing them to facilitate NIL deals, all of that. Essentially, schools can act as brokers, which is basically what an agent is, a broker. Essentially, schools can act as brokers of sorts to connect athletes to third parties that can pay them for the use of their name, image, and likeness. So basically, schools can connect with companies, schools can connect with these collectives, schools can connect with anybody who has something to do with NIL, and the school is basically now your agent. Like, the school can go out there and seek deals for you. The school can work more in concert with, maybe even with an agent, or they can work with anybody who has something to do with NIL, who has something to do with paying money to athletes. I think this is really good. I think this is in the best interest of the student athletes. However, the schools cannot pay the athletes directly, which I think is the difference with the Virginia ruling in this ruling. In the Virginia ruling, the schools can pay, in the state of Virginia now, schools can pay student athletes NIL directly. Differently here, schools still can't pay student athletes NIL, but they can work with the student athletes with these third-party collectives to get these student athletes these right type of deals, to get them the right type of protections. I think they can read the contracts for them and all of those things. Like, they're working as a broker, which is an agent, which is a middleman. They can now be the middleman between these third parties and the student athlete to make sure that they're not getting screwed over. I think that's a good thing. Dillinger also pointed out at the time that many NCAA administrators believe the future of NIL is one where it will be operated, these are in quotes, operated from within school athletic departments, more commonly referred to as in-house NIL. So I think eventually a lot of people believe that the athletic departments are going to be the ones paying the NIL. Eventually, a lot of people believe that what's happening in Virginia is going to be commonplace in all of college football. I think that's kind of like really the only way if you want to act in the best, if you want the best for these student athletes. I think that's the only way to go. But I don't know. We'll definitely see down the road, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. I think the NCAA, it's similar. It seems very similar to 2020. You know, Miami, the state of Florida said we're going to accept NIL in 2020. We're going to allow these student athletes to get paid, and the NCAA followed suit the next year. I think that's the only way things. I mean, the governments are doing things, and then the NCAA is stepping in behind them and saying, no, we're going to clean this up for you. But I think it's such a wild, wild west world of NIL, transfer portal, free agency, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's so wild, wild west right now that nobody really knows what to do. So, you know, the NCAA is trying to cover their tracks now after making NIL legal. They're trying to cover their tracks now and think about the best way to go about these things. Obviously, they didn't know what they were doing when they first had it go through, but now that they're backtracking and now that they're trying to think about the best way to go about it, there's some things that they're realizing would probably be better for the student athletes, to protect these student athletes, to protect the NCAA, to protect amateurism. And that's the biggest thing that the NCAA is still trying to sit on is, like, these kids are amateurs. It's not pay for play, but we all know it is pay for play. Like, obviously they're not receiving a salary and they're not getting paid based on performance, but, like, if you don't have a name, you're not going to get paid any money. Like, nobody's going to want you to be a ambassador of their brand if you don't have a brand in the first place. And that's what it is. And that's the same thing I said about the Reggie Bush thing. Like, Reggie Bush wouldn't have got his Heisman had he not performed on the field. And if these kids don't perform on the field, they're not going to have any NIL to make anyway. So it's like, kids need to prioritize, keep the main thing the main thing. Prioritize your play on the field. The NIL will come. Especially if you play at a Power 5, especially if you play at a Power 4, like, you perform on the field, the NIL will come. I think now these kids are looking for the NIL coming out of college when they haven't done a thing. Or, I mean, coming out of high school when they haven't done a thing in college. That's where the problem comes, where these guys are transferring, looking for more NIL when you haven't done anything at the location that you're at in the first place. So why are you looking for NIL when you're I'm not trying to be rude because I don't like to be like that, but you're a nobody at where you're at right now. So why would you go somewhere else and get more NIL money when nobody at your current location is willing to pay you NIL money? Like, I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think about that in the comments. I think it's a very interesting development in college football. I think it's good for college football, but I do agree with Ross Dellinger where he says it's going to be more commonly referred to as in-house NIL, where it's just going to be the athletic departments. I think what Virginia State is doing is going to become commonplace in college football, but we will have to see. There's been an ever-changing world of college sports the last couple of years, and it's going to continue to change. I mean, just think about how many changes we've seen in this offseason alone. Helmet communication, 2-minute warnings, transfer portal, unlimited transfers if you have, like, the right grades, conference realignment, the Super League being floated out there. I mean, there's so much going on. So much 12-team playoff this year. I mean, there's so much happening in college football. I don't think we've seen the end of it. I think it's just going to continue to get more wild before it settles down a bit. But I think the biggest changes we're going to see is after this college football playoff deal ends in terms of, like, Super League realignment or not Super League realignment, FCS teams moving to G5 going down to FCS. I think that's when we'll see the biggest changes and when this college football playoff deal ends. But who knows? We've seen so many changes. We didn't expect any of these. We could see we're going to see more. We're definitely going to see more. You guys let me know what you think about that, and we will move on. 11 FCS players and 0 HBCU players were taken in the 2024 NFL draft. Now, I think this is a down year for the FCS in terms of draft picks. I think they've had around 15 to 20 in the past years, but 11 this year. A lot of UDFAs. We'll be looking at Sam Herder posted the numbers from FCS conferences of who's been picked up and who hasn't been picked up. Either way, we're going to talk about the 11 draftees out of the FCS. Kieran Amagaji, O-lineman out of Yale, went to the Chicago Bears, 3rd round, 11th pick in the 3rd round, 75th overall. He was the first FCS draft pick. Jalix Hunt, edge rusher out of Houston Christian, went to the Philadelphia Eagles, 3rd round, 31st pick, 94 overall. Mason McCormick, offensive line out of South Dakota State, Pittsburgh Steelers, 4th round, 19th pick in the 4th round, 119th overall. Isaiah Davis, South Dakota State, running back to the New York Jets, 5th round, 38th pick in the 5th round, 173rd pick overall. Christian Boyd, defensive tackle out of Northern Iowa, New Orleans Saints, 6th round, 23rd pick in the 6th round, 199th pick overall. Dylan Lobby, running back out of New Hampshire, receiver to the Las Vegas Raiders. 6th round, 32nd pick in the 6th round, 208 overall. Now that was interesting. I definitely kind of thought Dylan Lobby might go before Isaiah Davis. Obviously, Isaiah Davis had ridiculous stats at South Dakota State, and he won back-to-back national championships. So I'm not super surprised that he went in the 5th round before Dylan Lobby. But I just think in terms of like versatility, I would have preferred to have Dylan Lobby. I think I love Isaiah Davis. He's a dog. Great patience, great power, really good speed. I mean, he has it all as a running back. He can catch out of the backfield decently well. Like, he's got a full skill set. I've been a fan of him since he was like a sophomore behind Pierre Strong, and I was a big fan of Pierre Strong as well. So I'm not just because I put another player above him does not mean I think lowly of Isaiah Davis. He is a great player. But in terms of just versatility, Dylan Lobby can punt return. I don't know if he's kick return, but I think he's kick returned. He can receive. He can receive out of the backfield. He can play slot receiver. He can run in between the tackles. He can run outside the tackles. Like, I think Dylan Lobby has the full gambit of skills. His toolbox is a little deeper than Isaiah Davis's, so I foresaw him maybe going before Isaiah Davis. But Dylan Lobby is a little smaller. Isaiah Davis is ideal height. I think he's about 6'1", probably 215, 220, maybe 210, but he's good size, good speed, good agility, good pay. Like, he's the ideal size for a running back. So I get why Isaiah Davis, but he went to the Jets, who has Breece Hall, really good running back. I believe they drafted Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin, who's 20 years old. I mean, 20 years old as a rookie? That's ridiculous. Either way, they have I think Isaiah Davis could definitely make the roster. I think he resembles that of Breece Hall. Obviously, Breece Hall is faster, probably more explosive, but Isaiah Davis has a great skill set, and I think he'll fit well in that Jets offense, getting to learn from Aaron Rodgers, getting to learn from Breece Hall. Maybe he can learn something from Braylon Allen. Maybe he can teach Braylon Allen something. I don't know. They're both rookies. It'll be interesting to see that. Next, but Dylan Lobby to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think he'll be a great addition to that offense. I can't remember if they still have Josh Jacobs, but I know they have White. I think it's Zamir White. They have Zamir White, really good running back, but I think Dylan Lobby has a different skill set to him. I could really see him being a third down back for the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. I think they might have drafted a receiver. Either way. They're pretty good over there at the Raiders. And now they have Dylan Lobby. I think he'll fit in well. You got Ryan Flournoy, wide receiver, Southeast Missouri State, to the Dallas Cowboys. 6th round, 40th pick in the 6th round, 216th pick overall. Miles Harden, the cornerback out of South Dakota, went to the Cleveland Browns in the 7th round. The 7th pick in the 7th round, 227th pick overall. Levi Drake Rodriguez, defensive tackle, Texas A&M Commerce, to the Minnesota Vikings in the 7th round. The 19th pick. The 12th pick in the 7th round, 232nd pick overall. Then you got Josiah Ezerim, O-lineman out of Eastern Kentucky, New Orleans Saints, 7th round, 19th pick in the 7th round, 239th pick overall. And then CJ Hansen, O-lineman out of Holy Cross, the Patriot League, to the Kansas City Chiefs, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, the 28th pick in the 7th round, 248th pick overall. A lot of good picks here. No draft picks out of the Big Sky. Only 11 draft picks. No HBCU draft picks. There was a lot of people who were upset about the HBCU not having draft picks online. I don't really know what to think about that. I don't watch a ton of HBCU football, so I don't know a ton about like the talent level. I know FAMU had a really good defense. FAMU was a really good team in HBCU football, but like there weren't a lot of good, like, to be real with you guys, I'm not hating on the HBCU, but besides FAMU, there weren't, like, the HBCU wasn't great last year. Howard, who made the Celebration Bowl, was 6-6. So like, what are we talking about, HBCU fans? I gotta shoot you straight. Like, I don't think the HBCU was, and it's not about competent. It's not about how good you were. It's about the players. And I'm sure there's some dogs at the HBCU level who probably deserve to look, but there's some dogs at Power 5, some dogs at FCS level who deserve to look too. So it's like, it's not like people are just crapping on the HBCUs, but it's like, there's levels. I know there's talent at the HBCU. Level. But just because nobody got drafted doesn't mean like there's a bias against the HBCUs. I don't think there is a bias against the HBCUs. Maybe if you show me some numbers that corroborate that, I will believe that. But I don't think there's bias against the HBCUs. Some of the best players ever to touch an NFL football field are from HBCUs. Walter Payton, Jerry Rice. Like, just to name two right off the bat. Two of the best players ever are from HBCU. So, I don't think that, Michael Strahan, HBCU. Like, there's not, I mean, and that was back in the day. Obviously, things were different. There were more rounds in the NFL draft, all of that stuff. You can say all that. But dogs out of the HBCUs, and there's been dogs in recent years out of HBCUs, like Darius Leonard. Shaquille Leonard, how he wants to be called, out of an HBCU. Like, really good talent comes out of HBCUs. Jacoby Durant, I believe, was out of an HBCU as well. Like, there's good players coming out of HBCUs. But I don't think there's an HBCU bias. I just don't think the HBCU was very strong last year. Now, you guys can come at my head, come at my neck for that one. I will take that on. I fully understand that. But I don't think there's an HBCU bias. I just don't think there was a lot of high-level talent at the HBCU level. Now, if you can name me some players who you think deserve to be drafted at HBCUs, please leave them in the comments. I would love to look them up and look at how they did. But I just think it's the way the cookie crumbles this year. Hopefully there's guys getting UDFA contracts. Hopefully there's guys getting minicamp invites. Hopefully there's all that. But I don't know. I just think it's a tough draw for the HBCUs this year. It was a tough draw for the FCS. Only 11 draft picks out of the FCS. That's tough. But I also wanted to talk about the numbers of draft picks out of the FCS, or draft picks and UDFAs. So this is a combination. This is from Sam Herder on Twitter or X, at Sam Herder FCS on Twitter. Hero Sports is somewhere where you can find a lot of his information as well. FCS conferences currently with the most players to earn NFL contracts, 2024 NFL contracts. This is a combination of draft picks and UDFA deals. There's 22 out of the MVFC. That's probably higher at this point. This was posted at 11 a.m. on Sunday. I'm recording this at 11 a.m., 3:20 on Sunday. So that probably went up. CAA, there was 12. The SoCon, there was 8. The Big Sky, there was 7. The MEAC and SWAC, there was 4 each. So HBCUs right there. The Ivy League, there's 3. The Patriot League, there's 3. The Big South OVC, there's 2. The Southland, there's 2. And the UAC, there's 2. So the NEC doesn't even have anybody. There's more conferences in the FCS than this. So there's some FCS conferences that don't even have guys getting picked up. The Pioneer League is not on here. The Patriot League is on here. The Pioneer League and the NEC are 2 conferences that stick out to me just right off the bat. But, I mean, that is what it is. The Big Sky only has 7. I'm sure that number kind of, I don't know, because one of our guys from Montana got a UDFA contract invite, so that's something I pay attention to, but or got a rookie minicamp invite, so that's something there. But man, I don't know. Obviously the MVFC, the Missouri Valley, has got strong talent through and through their conference, no matter what. 22 draft picks. They got double the next best, which is the CAA, has 12. Well, I guess not double, but 10 more than the next best, which is the CAA at 12. And then the SoCon at 8, the Big Sky at 7. I mean, you'd love to see those numbers be higher. I mean, I'd love to see the Big Sky have more. I'd love to see the CAA have more, but that's just the way it falls this year. Hopefully a lot of these guys are able to make rosters, but the MVFC sitting at 22 is staggering, but they usually have a lot. I mean, that just shows the competition level, and that just shows the talent level in some of these conferences. The MVFC reigns supreme per usual. They got a lot of talent out there. It's the job of the CAA, the SoCon, and the Big Sky to catch up. And the MEAC and the SWAC, I mean, you guys got 8 in the MEAC and the SWAC and HBCUs, and that, like I said, these numbers have probably gone up since this post was posted, but that's where it stood at 11 a.m. on Sunday, and I'm recording this at 3:22 on Sunday. So, yeah. You guys let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. What do you guys think about the disparity of draft picks in each conference? What do you guys think about the MVFC? What do you guys think about the HBCUs? What are your thoughts on the HBCUs not having that many, not having any draft picks? Do you guys think it's BS that the HBCUs have no draft picks, or do you guys think it's just the way things are? You guys let me know, and we will move on. Okay, last but not least, like I said, this week I did get some subscriber questions. I'm very appreciative of anybody that asked questions. I got 3 questions this week, and we're going to answer them right now. First one is from Remington Kruger. What will happen to the FCS landscape if the G5 creates its own football playoff? I don't know, because I think if somebody who roots for an FCS team, I think that is a deep-rooted allegiance. I don't think your allegiance is based on, I don't think somebody's allegiance to an FCS school is like, because most people who root for FCS schools have an FBS school that they usually root for too. Not so much me. I mean, I used to be a Longhorns fan, but I'm not super big. I mean, I still can root for the Longhorns, but I'm really a Griz fan. And I love to watch FBS football, but I don't really have an allegiance to anybody really, So I think most people who are FCS fans are only FCS fans, like that's what it is. I don't know what will happen to that. I don't know if anything badly. I think it could potentially hurt TV deals for the FCS. I think that the TV deals that the FCS get could be given to the G5s if they do split from, like, if they do create their own football playoffs. So I will give you that. I think Remington, I do think that, it could hurt the TV deals. I think it could hurt the money that the FCS gets if the G5 creates its own playoff. But, I don't know how much, I spoke about this earlier in my video. I don't know how much ground the G5s have to stand on if they don't have the Power Fives. Like, could they essentially replace the FCS in terms of money and deals that they get? Yes. But what I think should happen is I think the G5s and the FCS need to merge into one league. I think the upper tier FCS schools need to go up and the G5 or the G5s need to come down. The G5s need to come down. The upper tier G5s go up to the Power Fours and the lower tier G5s and the upper tier FCS merge into one league. That would be the best for everybody. I think that would give a better TV deal. I think the competition will be higher. I think that you'd see more draft picks. I don't know because I think the FCS level of competition, the upper FCS teams and the lower G5 teams, I think the competition level and the talent level is very comparable. I don't think there's many G5 schools that are just gonna wash FCS schools. Like, I think Montana last year could have competed with the best of the best at the G5s last year. South Dakota State probably would have beat every G5 team in the country last year. And I'm not bullshitting when I say that. I think South Dakota State last year would have beat every G5 team in the country. Quote me on that. I think South Dakota State would have beat every G5 team in the country last year. I'm not kidding. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think there's much difference in G5 level of talent between G5 level of talent and FCS level of talent. I don't. So I think the FCS landscape could be changed, Remington, if the G5s create their own playoff. But I think more it would be on a revenue standpoint of things. I don't think it would be on it may be on a talent level of things, but I think they would be hurt in terms of TV deals they can get, in terms of, revenue from a revenue standpoint. Those are my 2 cents. I appreciate you for your question, Mr. Kruger, and we are going to move on. Next question is from my guy, Brent Wahlberg. He's part of the Griz Fan Pod. Go check that out on Twitter, the Griz Fan Pod. Anywhere you get your podcast, look up Griz Fan Pod, Brent Wahlberg, Mike Nugent, Luke. They do a great job. Really great podcast. His question is, any Big Sky players that have a chance to first get a minicamp invite and then potentially make it out and get a chance for a roster spot? So I just saw that Nash Fouch got a minicamp invite with the New York Giants. Really excited about that. Now, I don't know if they're bringing him in to play safety, like a box safety, potentially move him to linebacker. I don't know. I know he can bang. I know he can hit. He's a grinder. He's a hard worker. So really excited for him. I'm kind of intrigued why I didn't see Alex Gubner, because I really think of Alex Gubner, even though he played in a 3-3-5 system and that doesn't really translate to the NFL, I really think he could make somebody's camp. I know he's a little undersized, but I know how hard he works. He's a pro. He's been a pro since the second he stepped into college. I think he would make some defensive coordinator very happy. I think his talent would outshine not outshine anybody, but his talent would show. He's got a lot of talent. He was the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year for a reason, as a D tackle, as a nose tackle, really. I think that's really hard to do, and I think that shows how much talent he's got. If anybody, I think, there's a few guys that got signed to contracts like Hayden Hatton, Pickering. I think he only got a minicamp invite. Pickering did. But you got the linebacker from Weber State. Let me go to Skyline's page and tell you guys a little more. Look up a little more. But Jermaine Jackson out of Idaho. I think he has a really good chance of making the Saints roster because they have Rashid Shaheed. He's been their returner for the last couple of years. I think he's moving more into a primarily receiver role where they like him taking the top off the defense. He hits a lot of deep shots. Derek Carr throws a lot of deep shots to him. I don't think they want to put him in the line of fire playing defensive back, playing returner this year. Like, I think they probably will want to bring in somebody like maybe a Jermaine Jackson. The NFL is prioritizing trying to bring the kickoff return back into the game because, in the Super Bowl, we saw no returns. So you can tell that the league is trying to incentivize teams to return the ball this year. So they're bringing in this new kickoff return. That might be where Jermaine Jackson can make his wave. Obviously, you got to make it as that 5th or 6th receiver. Some teams keep 5, some teams keep 6. You got to make it as that 5th or 6th receiver. But also, if you make yourself valuable in the return game. It makes it harder for them to cut you as a receiver when you have that ability. I think Jermaine Jackson could really be that guy. And then Marshall Martin, he got signed to the Jets. I think he can make a roster as an H. I think he does a lot of good things in the pass game. You can get him those handoffs. He played running back a lot. I think he has a lot of versatility. I think that's why they bring him in, Marshall Martin. I think that's why you bring him in. He shows that he has that versatility. He shows that he can do a lot of things. You can move him around a lot. Get him into camp, see how well he works, see how well he runs routes, see how he's able to get open, see how he fits into your offensive scheme. Those are two guys I think could really make a roster, Brent. Jermaine Jackson, I think he has a great chance to make a roster. I don't know what kind of guaranteed money he got, but I think he has a good chance. I think Jermaine Jackson has a really good chance. And then obviously Marshall Martin. Those are my two guys that I think out of the Big Sky that can make a roster. Hayden Hatton got signed to the Seahawks, so I think he has an interesting chance to make a roster as well. Hayden Hatton definitely has an interesting chance to make a roster. Bobo, they have Jake Bobo there. I think Hayden Hatton probably resembles him, not because he's white, but Jake Bobo is not the fastest receiver. He's got good hands, but he gets open. I think Hayden Hatton resembles him because their games do resemble each other, not because they're white. I'm not somebody who's a fan of just comping somebody to somebody because they're white. Hayden Hatton does happen to be white. Jake Bobo does happen to be white. I think their games resemble each other. I think Hayden Hatton potentially has a chance to fit in a Jake Bobo role, but I think if anything, I don't know where their depth chart sits, but I think if he was potentially to make the roster, he'd probably have to beat out Jake Bobo. I don't know. Like I said, I'd need to know their depth chart and where they sit at their depth to understand more about Hayden Hatton's chances of making the roster, but I got to believe Hayden Hatton's not the only receiver they brought in. So, I'd have to look at their depth. I'd have to see how they're doing. But, yeah, those are my two, Jermaine Jackson, Marshall Martin. Those are my biggest two. Obviously, Gubner, if he gets into camp, I think he could wow some people, but he has to get into a camp first. So, those are my guys. And I will move on to the next and last question. Okay, Pat Wolficle. I think it's Wolficle. If I'm saying it wrong, please help me out in the comments. But Pat Wolficle said, did any Griz players sign any free agent contracts? I didn't see any Griz players sign any free agent contracts, but I just saw Nash Fouch get signed to rookie minicamp. So I think he'll probably be out there next week during their minicamp. I think they usually do rookie minicamp pretty soon after the draft. So he'll be out there with the Giants and being able to trying to show that he deserves to at least sign a UDFA contract to get an invite to camp. That's the biggest thing is, go to rookie minicamp, show that you belong, and get an invite to camp. And then once you get into camp, it is what it is, That is what it is. But, Pat, that is nobody signed a free agent contract. I'm kind of bummed that Gub didn't. I really thought Gub could have. Braxton, nobody signed a free agent contract, which is honestly crazy to me. But, That's who I really could see. I keep forgetting about TC too. I didn't hear anything about TC. I haven't heard anything about any Griz players at all besides Nash Fouch. I'm really surprised our defensive player of the year in the conference. We have like the top 2-3 conference in FCS football, but maybe that speaks to the talent level in the FCS. Maybe that speaks to, I don't know what it speaks to, but it says it definitely, there's a story there to be told. I just don't so much know what that story is right now. I appreciate you for your question, Pat, but yeah, no Griz players have signed a free agent contract yet, so we will see going forward. That is going to conclude my video for today. I appreciate you guys tapping in. I appreciate you guys for the questions. I appreciate you guys for the love and support. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys have done. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, subscribe. Please subscribe. Like I said last week in my video, I will be working with FCS Nation Radio this season. DJ Coulter, his dad, Bill Coulter, super Griz fan. He brought a couple of us out, me and Dalton and a couple of the Griz guys out for dinner a couple of years ago when I was still with the Griz. I think that was like 2019, 2018. But DJ Coulter, his son, I will be working with him this year. He'll be my co-host on FCS Nation Radio. We will be breaking down the Griz, or not the Griz, the Big Sky Weekly. Hopefully, I'll still be on the Grizzly pregame, postgame show this year. I will still be doing my breakdowns and doing my weekly Tuesday videos like this. So make sure you guys are tuned in to all the content I'm dropping during the season time. But I thank you guys so much for tapping in. Thank you so much. And I will catch you guys next week.